Hello YouTube, this is Mars Gaming and welcome back to another Destiny 2 gameplay. Today I'll be doing a weapon review and somewhat of a strategy guide for the weapon, the Bad News. In the previous game this was the Judith D hand cannon. It's a high impact, slow rate of fire hand cannon in this game. You have to play with hand cannons as a class somewhat different than the previous game. It's not so vastly different, but it's just the fact that there are so many more weapons that can compete. The class itself is no longer the number one the number one best in slot compared to everything else. So, but primarily, I'm going to be going over a review for the Bad News and the strategy for the Bad News. Let's start by looking at the stats. Bad News is a high impact hand cannon. This will do about 71 to the head between the ranges of about, I think, 20 to 24 meters. It most likely will still be consistent without any fall off until it hits around 28 to 30 meters, which is going to hit about 65. And it should still be hitting at a decent amount of 52 outside of that, but still you shouldn't be firing out that range. The weapon has aggressive frame, high damage, high recoil, steady hand HCS, which I feel is best for this hand cannon. Sure shot HCS, if you can handle the stability, more power to you. Flared magwell, I prefer the steady rounds just for more stability. It's the better option since I play a more aggressive playstyle and like to be in people's faces. That's what I choose. I would go for this if I felt like I could handle it, but I feel like it needs more. The range. This is really a pretty good option. Flared magwell, I like it, but I'd rather have that stability. It does make a difference. Moving target, increase movement speed and target acquisition when moving while aiming down sights. I kind of don't notice this all that much since the hunter's already pretty fast. It might stack well with the hunter. It could stack well with the titan if you have high mobility, but I feel like there's a limit to how much mobility you should have as a titan because you still need recovery if you like to run in people's faces like I do, and enough resilience. And I think 3 to 4 mobility is pretty good. 5 mobility is great, but I read the 4 is still pretty good. Now, the review of the weapon. It took some time to get acclimated to the hand cannon. I used to use the GFD a lot in my previous gameplays in the previous iteration of Destiny, but this one honestly was a challenge. There's a lot of times I had to stay up till well, not a lot of times, but one time I had to stay up to like 8 a.m. just to get acclimated to the hand cannon. Its recoil pattern, that was one of the main issues for me, getting used to the recoil pattern again, because it's a high impact frame. It felt, even with the stability, it felt like it was tapering off. The main thing you have to work on with this is understanding the recoil pattern. The stability helps a lot because this archetype used to not even have any stability. It had horrible stability perks that were placed onto this archetype in the previous game. But now, since they're making everything much more balanced, it feels very, very much more comfortable. Now the range stat, this archetype has always had a lot of range. That was its gift for having like almost no stability in the previous game. Also, the handling is a lot better. It doesn't ADS really fast because compared to, I should say, the Better Devils or the Annual Skate or the Minuet. I don't have the Minuet on me currently. You can see the difference. Oh, I have the modified holster. So, well, yeah, let me take that off. Compared to something like the Better Devils or the Minuet, it's a lot slower. You can tell. You see, the Better Devils is like a few seconds or like a few milliseconds snappier. Now, actually, the Annual Skate is somewhat close to the ADS, but yeah, that's mainly the handling and the speed and such as stuff like that. But still, the hand cannon, if you're good with hand cannons, the handling speed won't really be an issue compared to most things. Now, on to the reload. The reload is abysmal. I'm just going to put that out there. It's completely abysmal. It's it's not even good. It's not even good to look at like the what weapon is that? The Sturm. It's not even yeah. It's not even really enjoyable to look at like the Sturm. I enjoy the slow reload speed of the Sturm. It's very pleasing to me, and especially like the classic hand cannons, the old fashioned that archetype.
Yes. Check.
Please be quiet, Sloan. Yeah, like those reload speeds are pleasing to look at, even though they're really slow. But yeah, don't bother trying to reload in a gunfight. Switch to your secondary. Whatever secondary you have will do. It will really do. Now on to the strategy portion. Oh well, I guess I should continue giving my review before I hit the strategy. The review of the gun, it's actually I've been enjoying it a lot now that I've learned how it works entirely. Let me get away from Sloan, she won't shut up. I've enjoyed it entirely because it's a three banger, like my old hand cannon. The old in the previous game it was a two shot. Now it's just a three shot, which is good. It doesn't have any serious clutch perks. If it has something like Rampage, I think this gun would be a bit too strong because this thing can probably take out multiple targets in one go without having to reload. Probably take about two and a half. If that triple tap, that'd be nice too, because you can get a lot of headshots. The uh, the gun itself still handles pretty well if you can manage the recoil, which isn't too bad because me using this archetype, I know they all sway left. They all sway left. So positioning and placing your shots is always key. So that's the long and short of it. Okay, now the strategy portion. Use him as an example. Let's say for example he sways from right to left. The thing about this hand cannon trying to strafe too much is actually going to throw off your accuracy. These high impact frames are better being stationary, which majority of the time that's an issue. Because it requires you to be stationary most of the time, it's going to throw you off. But there's a trick to it. The key is to understand how the person strafes. I call this anticipating the opponent's strafe pattern. Let's say for example a diamond. Now your enemy is the top of the diamond and you're the bottom of the diamond. Say for example it moves up and then down, from down to back up, and then back down. You have to position your shot for every time they come back to the center. If you do that while strafing, you can pretty much hit your shots just about every time. And not only that, positioning is also a good thing. When I'm a hunter, and let's say I'm on a map like Endless Vale. Endless Vale has a lot of not a lot of hallways, but a lot of choke points. There's one in the middle. There's one in the middle on the longest sight line, and let's say the longest sight line is the vertical, and the other three are horizontal. The ones that both have heavy on them, and what game mode? I guess Clash. That game mode, both of those are the horizontal sight lines, including the C, or is that including the B line, including the B flag, including B flag. Those are all horizontal lines. For me, I like to position to see where the enemy is going to be placed, and my team usually fires down the horizontal sight line. Because of this, I will either push down the middle and immediately jump into cover, prime my enemies with the pulse rifle, move back into cover. I'll push up because usually they won't expect you to push up, or I'll cut around the side since hunters are pretty fast. You can do this with any other class, but still hunters seem to be the most mobile and agile. Well, I won't say the most mobile because Titans seem faster. Titans honestly seem a bit faster. And then I'll usually prime my enemies once I flank them on the horizontal sides of the map, because people tend to stick to the same positions. I'll usually get one or two picks and then either push. I push too much. Sometimes I do push too much, but you kind of have to if you're using hand cannons. Plus, it's really good positioning on those flanking sight lines. Now, the next part of the strategy is understanding how the recoil works. Recoil is, it sways left and right at times. Sometimes it sways right, sometimes it sways left. The thing about this hand cannon, its bloom mechanic is very different than the others because it's a high impact frame. If you spam this hand cannon with 2 shots, it's gonna throw the bloom off a lot. So the main thing is here. You see him as an example. If you shoot at him once, like that, it's gonna throw the next shot off because once he shoots me, it's gonna be about an inch away from his head. Playing a little game. It's gonna be about an inch away from his head. So the main thing is understanding how to strafe properly. When I say strafe properly, you have to position. You have to do longer strafes. You can do stutter strafes, but that's still gonna throw your reticle off while you're shooting. You can't be panicked with this hand cannon. If you panic with this hand cannon, you're most likely going to die. You can ADS and you can shoot out of scope because it has pretty good accuracy in this game. The previous game, not so much. I guess because it had very low stability in the previous game. But yeah, if you have to ADS and then go out of scope, once you get too close to target, steadily try to back up. I almost forgot where I was going with this. But yeah, it's positioning is everything. Don't strafe too hard from side to side. That will throw your accuracy off. That's one thing I wanted to go over. Oh, I get those for free. I didn't do anything. Okay, cool. The next thing I want to go over was weapon swapping. Weapon swapping is going to be very important for this type of weapon because the weapon works best in tandem. I mean, in tandem, it has to have a partner. So always having a weapon on hand that pairs well with this, like a pulse rifle, specifically a faster rate of fire pulse rifle like the Negril, or even the Swift Ride is good. I enjoy the Swift Ride a lot. The Swift Ride and the Last Perdition archetype, because I used to use slow rate of fire pulse rifles. I'm used to it. This is pretty good. I would say a sidearm, but most maps are pretty long. Or even an auto rifle is good. You can't go wrong with an auto rifle, especially some of the really good ones like Valakaden or a higher impact frame if you can get one. The Martyr's Make is pretty good. I don't like it too much. It's not bad. I won't go. I don't use auto rifles as much as I should. I'd like to challenge myself. But yeah, a weapon like the what is this? The Negril, the Agenda 5. I like this one because it has pretty good stability and pretty good hip fire accuracy. Because sometimes when I'm here, I get too close to people. Sometimes I don't make the first shot. Sometimes I'll make the second shot. But I'll go out and make that shot, and then I'll switch to the Negril and finish them off. I'll try to maneuver my way around. Or for example, you could go double hand cannon, which would not be a bad idea, or even a sidearm. These two wouldn't be bad at all. But the thing is, you really have to know your positioning on a map. You have to understand the map that you're on before you decide to use 2 short range weapons, because that's kind of what hand cannons are now. They're short to almost medium long range weapons. They're almost to that point. You see the range stat on this annual skate that I have? That's the range for a type of hand cannon. It may on paper have more range than an auto rifle, but the range stat for a hand cannon is significantly different from an auto rifle. That's just what it is.
Guardian, the Fallen are bringing in their armory.
I think that's about
know better by now.
it. Oh, the accuracy. Yeah, I wanted to get in that. The accuracy on this is actually quite good. I do a lot of jump shots, but you have to position your reticle when you're in the air. Well, which is pretty obvious, but you have to. It's like a double thing. You always have to make sure you have that. You always do that, or you'll miss a lot, like a lot. But I hope you enjoyed the weapon review. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you grasped something from this. Please like and subscribe and/or comment. I'd really appreciate it. Have a great day. Okay, I forgot to cover one more part of the review. You will miss sometimes, and you'll wonder why. First off is the recoil pattern. What you want to do is you want to start at the chest, and then gradually move towards the head. The main key with all hand cannons The main key to all hand cannons is to get more headshots. But with this archetype, you're going to want to not do that. You're going to want to get chest first to make sure you can get the shot off in the first place. The main thing with this archetype, if you don't believe you can kill with this hand cannon, do not commit to the fight. Please do not commit to the fight because you will die. That's it. Thanks again for watching. Have a great one.
Can't kill if they're dead. Have my respect, Hunter. Only 1 minute left. Seconds. Fight on. Together as one. I love it.